I just finished watching the Odyssey, and this is the most important scene in the movie. So Odysseus was trying to recall and remember what had happened to him and his crew, and then he was trying to make a wooden platform out of all the broken parts of the ship. And what he did, he just floated on that platform in the sea, and somehow he got home. Now, why is this the most important scene in the movie? Is because in that moment, Odysseus learned how to surrender. He learned what surrendering was. Because take a look at Odysseus's life. A soldier is a strong person, is a confident person. And, in some way, definitely in many ways, they have pride in their heart, right? Because they're soldiers. And as Odysseus, helped in taking over Troy, helped in defeating all the monsters that came his way. He was very warrior mentality in his heart. But one thing that changed the whole story, and one thing that changed Odysseus, was when he got broken down. When he was on that island alone, he had to learn that, or he had to recognize that he has failed. And that's one thing I love about how Odysseus is portrayed in the movie, is that Odysseus is not meant to be a hero. He is meant to be a flawed, broken man. And this is where we go into Proverbs 14 verse 12, where it says, "There is a way which seemeth right unto a man, but the end thereof are the ways of death." Odysseus had his way, he had his plan, he had his path, and it was his own way, right? Odysseus was very strong, very intelligent, but every time he never got home. He would encounter these monsters, he would encounter these problems, and sure, he would overcome, but he never actually got to his goal. He never actually got to return home. That's why in this verse, what seems right to a man is nothing but the ways of death. And that's what happened to Odysseus. Like, try it again, try it again, try it again, try it again. But every time, only problems caused, he only got closer to death itself. But there's hope, right? There's hope, and that's not the end. So if we go to Psalm 46 verse 10, it says, "Be still and know that I am God. I will be exalted among the heathen. I will be exalted in the earth." So the word "be still" in Hebrew means rafa. And rafa means to cease striving, to loosen your grip, to lie there helpless. When did Odysseus actually get to go home? It's when he loosened his grip. It's when he lied there helpless, literally lied there helpless. All this time he was trying to fight his way back home, because in his heart, he was the king. In his heart, it was up to him. In his heart, he was God. And he shouldered everything that came with that pressure, with that challenge. But as in Proverbs 14 verse 12 says, right? There are ways which seemeth right unto the man, but the end thereof are the ways of death. So my way always ends up to problems, to pain, to suffering. And this is why I relate to Odysseus a lot, because throughout the movie he had his own solutions. Okay, let's go here. No, okay, now let's go here. No, okay, let's go here. But when did he actually learn how to surrender? When did he actually learn that, yeah, I can't anymore? It was when he got broken down. It was when he ran out of options. Taking a look at my life, when did I find Jesus? When did I actually try to seek Jesus? It was when my options ran out. Going to the gym didn't work anymore. Doing better in school didn't do it anymore. Trying to make some money didn't do it anymore. My addictions didn't do it anymore. So what was I left with? I had no hope anymore. Okay, let's see if this Jesus thing is real. And then boom. So people ask, how do we surrender? We find it hard to surrender because we still have options. We still think that our ways is better. But as Odysseus showed us, as Proverbs 14 verse 12 shows us, our ways are not God's ways. Just like as it says in Isaiah 55. And in that moment when Odysseus was just floating in the water, on that little piece of wood, wow, the surrender. In my mind, as it was playing in the movie, wow, that's the level that we should try to be. Imagine in the seas where Odysseus encountered storms, monsters, but he had surrender. He had faith. And eventually he got to return home because he let go of his grip. He loosened his grip. He laid there helpless and had to rely on the one who was actually in control. And this is the one idol that prevents us from actually surrendering to God, growing closer to God, and it's control. We love to have control, but that's the deception, that's the lie, because we never had control to begin with. As we looked into Psalm 46 verse 10, control was never ours. We only thought we had control. But the moment we recognize and remember, oh, I never had control, boom, you can truly surrender to the one who is in control. Amen. And let me end with John chapter 3 verse 30, where it says, he must increase, but I must decrease. And this verse, I'd say, strongly summarizes the whole lesson of the movie and the video, is that Jesus must increase, I must decrease. In the start of Odysseus' journey, he was the one above. He was mighty, strong, soldier, warrior. But as he went on throughout the movie, he became lower and lower and lower. His solutions weren't working anymore. He was only finding ways of death, only pain, only suffering. He had to be broken down so much, but being broken down is what allowed him to actually surrender. And in the same way in our lives, looking at my life, right? Before having Jesus in my life, I was the king of my life. I was the king in my heart. I was God in my heart. I will do whatever I want. I'm going to do what I want to do. Nobody can tell me anything. But as life went on, problem after problem, being broken down, pain, suffering. And when I was broken down, that's when Jesus could enter. That's when Jesus could build me up. That's when I could let go of my control, let go of my strength, and just allow Jesus to do everything for me. Allow Jesus to fill that hole inside my heart. Allow Jesus to give me peace. Allow Jesus to give me this happiness. Allow Jesus to be my hope. It's not that I did anything. All that happened was that I just realized that my ways is not the way. But that's why there's Jesus, God, Yahweh, the way, Sheesh. And yeah, it was a really beautiful story and really the most impactful moment in the movie for me. And of course, I had to relate it to my faith. And, that's why I really loved how Christopher Nolan depicted Odysseus, not as the hero, but as a flawed and broken man who had everything was very strong, but had to be broken down and learn to surrender and be nothing, right? Decrease. Wrath must decrease and Jesus must increase. When we grow with God, this is exactly what happens. When I started growing with God, and still am now, I start to be less, and Jesus starts to be more. It's not about my ways anymore. It's not about the things that I want. But it's about Jesus. It's about glorifying Jesus, preaching the gospel, all about Jesus. What would Jesus do? What would Jesus say? Not about me, but about him. Amen.